many countries, has its own origins, its own customs, its habits, its own languages, and of course, fashion. And so today, we've got an opportunity to show you a small part of Vietnamese's culture, or Vietnam's culture rather, and that's in the form of their beautiful national costumes. Now, Vietnam is divided into three main regions: the north, the central, and the south. Now, Vietnamese sometimes speak of these regions. They'll also call it north, central, and south, but sometimes they'll also say Hanoi, Hue, and Saigon. And Hanoi, Hue, and Saigon are the names of the capitals, or the city capitals of these regions, and their respective costumes all have their own regional distinctiveness. The name of the costume, by the way, is actually called, in Vietnamese, Áo Dài in the north, or Áo Dài in the south. But Vietnam, of course, is much larger than just three main regions. In addition to those regions, Vietnam actually has a fourth region, composed of ethnic minorities, about 54 ethnic groups to be exact. And each of which actually, of course, speak their own dialect or language and have their own unique and specific styles of clothing. And so these groups live in the plateaus or the mountains of Vietnam. And their Áo Dài, we're going to be able to showcase some of that. We're going to show you the influence of some of that as well. But I just want to let it be known right now that we're not going to be able to showcase the complete abundance of the Vietnamese ethnic clothing line, but we'll at least give you a sample of a few. So, we're delighted to show you the traditional costumes of all the regions that we can, and of course our models are going to take you on a very fashionable journey through Vietnam. And it's composed of essentially the same elements, but designed a little bit differently. And as you can see, it comes with an extra scarf around the head. This costume's often worn for important festivities in which Vietnamese women would go to times like temple, or even times like this for Lunar New Year. Thank you, Mi-Ling. And of course, with women looking so fabulous, what about the men? Well, of course, there's a costume for men. And men who accompany the women during these festivities wear a man's version of an Áo Dài, commonly called in the north as an Áo Tơ, and the silk Áo Dài for men, as shown by Mr. Phong Nguyen. Observe, ladies and gentlemen, the northern Vietnamese costume. Give it up for them. Now that's the northern region. Now we're going to descend from the north now, and we're going to hit the central portion of Vietnam. And when we speak of this region, we actually think of Hue, the imperial city, the birthplace of many kings, and is actually a very famous historic site with a lot of ancient monuments. And the Áo Dài of the central region has existed since ancient times, and is still commonly used. Why don't we bring out our next model? This is Lara, folks. She is wearing a central Vietnamese Áo Dài. Now, a Vietnamese woman leaving the house will normally wear a long Áo Dài with a long gown and usually a slit on both sides, worn over silk pants. And this Áo Dài will sometimes almost touch their heels. And this is supposed to represent sort of the secretive character of the northern women. They'll also carry a traditional conical palm leaf hat, known in Vietnamese as a non la, and it's shown, of course, by our lovely Lara. Thank you so much, Lara. All right, now, Hue being the imperial city, the traditional Áo Dài would encounter some modifications, so it could be distinguished from the most common. Now, as shown by our lovely Judy, this is the one that would be used for festivals and important events. And the Áo Dài would have an extra coat over it to add a little more flair and elegance, and of course, an additional headpiece called a khăn đau. All right, ladies. One more time for the Central Region folks. They look striking indeed. All right, now let's depart from the Central Region and let's enter the Southern Region of Vietnam. The South actually also has an Áo Dài, but it's similar to the Central Region. In the Southern Vietnam, it's known as an Áo Bà Bà, or simply a silk pajama, as demonstrated here by our lovely Ian. This outfit is actually a traditional clothing of a plainsman, and the Áo Bà Bà consists of a pair of silk pants and a long sleeve button-down silk shirt. And the shirt will be somewhat long and split at the sides with two flaps with two pockets. And the Áo Bà Bà is, of course, combined with a traditional conical hat, as we mentioned a moment ago, called the Non La. Thank you so much, Ian. Give him a round of applause, huh? Okay, so we've covered the regions of Vietnam, but we've also established that the Áo Dài is a very important thing. It's the most widely recognized Vietnamese national costume, and it's really versatile for everyday wear and, of course, special occasions. But let's see what's going on with the Áo Dài of today. Historically, the Áo Dài has seen a lot of modifications and new interpretations, but nowadays, designers are trying to create a more modern look, resulting in a more modern Áo Dài. And the modern Áo Dài is a result of a lot of times changing, like social development. The cultural attitude is a little bit more flexible, and it's ultimately a little more sexy, as Mai demonstrates over here. But of course, it still keeps the original shape and idea. Thank you, Mai. All right, now ever since the French colonization, a lot more Vietnamese nowadays in Vietnam are wearing more Western style clothing, like jeans or t-shirts and stuff, but the modern Áo Dài still remains. And the modern interpretation that our beautiful Hoài Anh is wearing still contains some hidden traces that can be linked to a very traditional and extensive history. All right, folks, please give a hand for Hoài Anh and Mai. All right, the last set of costumes we're going to show you can actually be worn in all 4 regions. Why? For that special day. The Áo Dài that I'm going to show you is a traditional costume that would be used for a wedding. And the bride would normally use very specific colors, such as red, yellow, gold, or even pink, and all of which have very significant meanings within the Vietnamese culture. And the groom would wear, of course, a man's Áo Dài, but often have a hat or a headpiece as well. Both of them do. And this is really to signify an important event. And a wedding, I think, is a pretty important event. This is, of course, our lovely couple, Nguyen and Tuấn. It looks striking, don't they? Give them a round of applause. All right, I want to bring the models out one more time so we can see the full range of the traditional wear for Vietnam.